Hi there, Philip, and welcome to your coaching video. Obviously started slightly into the game. I'm guessing that's because your PlayStation is just set to record 15 minutes. You can actually change that setting. Not sure if you're aware of that. You can change it so that it's up to 30. What I normally do during the opening few minutes of the video is just really try and get an idea of how you play. If I see anything that really sticks out, I'll stop it, but it's really just trying to get an idea of where you're at. Okay, I'm just wondering, I know you've hit it first time here. That is a great position after the patch to be hitting the timed finish. Generally, if you hit a timed finish from this sort of area and you get it green, they do tend to go in. I mean, that wasn't far off, it was close. But I think you need to be using timed finishing for those, Philip. And I'm just going to mention this now just in case it becomes a problem later. When you take control of the defender here, you're very aggressive in closing this player down. Just slow it down. Okay, and the problem that you can have potentially is, look at this player here. He's making the run into the space that the defender has left. And it's really easy for him to get in behind there. And what's also going to happen is that this centre back is going to move across to try and cover the gap that you've left here with Baresi. And obviously that means that the other striker is going to have nobody marking him. It's a very dangerous thing to do, and we'll keep an eye on that and see if it happens during the game. We'll see if it's something that you do often. But generally, when I'm playing a game, if I see somebody defending like that, I always get 1-2s going, because it's very easy to get behind somebody who moves the defenders out like that. You're very aggressive on defence, looking for the ball. Okay, your build-up is very direct. So from the moment you win the ball here, everything is going forward all the time. The pass there, you're always kind of passing into trouble with the player there. Don't be afraid in positions like this to pass the ball backwards. Perhaps if you had passed the ball backwards, is it Royce here? No, Piatti. Where have I got Royce from? If you had passed the ball backwards here, perhaps Piatti could have made his run in behind the defence, and you could have played the pass with this player. So another thing that I'm seeing early on is that you tend to be very direct in your build-up, and that's not always a good thing. You see, again, you have options with this player, okay? You always have the option of passing back with Mahrez here. But instead, you take too long on the ball. Hullet is able to come up, and he's able to make the tackle. So, I still think, I mean, even there, you don't need to be forcing the ball forwards all the time. Look at the other options that you've got, okay? Don't be afraid to pass sideways or backwards. You're just trying to force the ball forwards through the middle all the time. You've got to pass up here to either the midfielder or the fullback. But you're forcing it forwards all the time, and it's not helping you. Right, you're very lucky that your opponent is perhaps not the greatest attacker here. I want you to watch what happens again with your defender here. Okay, so you've gone looking for the ball, and now this player is in an absolute ton of space. Look, there's not a defender anywhere near him, he's right through. But your opponent misses it and plays it to this player, who's got 2 defenders to beat. If he'd played the through ball up here, you'd be in big trouble, and it's because of your aggressive defending, Philip. That's good. Unlucky. Oof. I mean, obviously, I think you'd be able to see when you're watching this back now, you're in a great position for a shot here with Aguero. And again, you need to be looking for the timed finish. Okay? The timed finish across the goalkeeper there, that will go in 7 or 8 times out of 10, I would say. Right, now again, let's look at your defending here. You're trying to rush out and win the ball with Vieira here, okay? So when you don't and the ball's passed, you take control of Tagliafico, who's your left back. Alright? Look what happens. You go chasing the ball up to the top here with Tagliafico, and now you're left with 3 defenders. Okay? So instead of having a right back and 2 centre backs and a left back, they're all going to shuffle across into the centre, and you're going to end up with basically 3 centre backs. And the problem you have, and again your opponent hasn't seen it, is that this player has a free pass straight towards your goal, okay? And he's got this player here to company with him, okay? They can both, he can just make the run straight forward and this guy can keep him company. So this guy and this guy effectively provide a 2-on-1 against this defender. I mean, this guy has a 1-on-0. There's literally nobody marking him because you've dragged your fullback all the way up here. Is that offside? I think that's offside. But again, I mean, even though it's offside, you need to look at how this is happening. That ball has been passed. You're doing well here, you're keeping your position well. But as soon as you turn around and start going towards the ball, that leaves the gap here. And that's where the ball comes through. And if you don't concede goals in this game because of that, you're lucky. But I guarantee that in other games you will be conceding goals because of that. So what we're going to look at here is kind of a golden rule. And I want you to imagine a line drawn along the edge of the penalty box D just here. Okay. Now, as a general rule, what I want you to start practicing is that if the ball is inside this line, okay, so if it's inside anywhere here, anywhere up here, okay, that is really the only time where you need to be moving your defender to go and attack the attacker, okay, to be so aggressive. That's the only time when you need to move your defender to the attacker. Anytime when play is in front of this line, so anytime it's over here, you need to just hold your position with your defender. And you need to say to the attacker, okay, I'm here, I'm staying here, and you've got to beat me. Because the problem that you've got with your defending, Philip, is that you're not being very defensive with it. The job of these players is to defend this goal back behind them here, okay? But you're using them to just attack the attacker. They're constantly attacking the ball. And it's not what they're for, and it will cause you problems. And I expect it will probably cause you problems in this game. Okay, again here. Look at the position of Vieira, okay? His shoulders are facing in this direction. So you really don't want to be passing it straight behind him. I don't know if you've played football, but if you have, you try facing one way and kicking the ball basically behind you. It's impossible to get any power on it. It's impossible to get any accuracy on it because all you're using is your hips, okay? So for him to turn and make that pass, first of all, you're always going to be in trouble because of the two players here. And secondly, because of the position of Vieira when he makes the pass. And again, you've got an easier ball here. You could just tap triangle and play the through ball to this player. Okay? Or you could just turn around and dribble. There are no players here to tackle you. But your instinct is always to force the ball forwards. And I want you to stop doing that. I want you to be more patient in your build-up. And I want you to be more patient with your defending. They're your two biggest problems that I see at the moment. It's just a lack of patience. It's like you want to score within 2-3 passes all the time, and you want to get the ball back immediately when you lose it. And FIFA 19 just doesn't work like that. You've got to be a bit more patient. Okay, that's better. The defending that you've done here is much better. Because what you've done with Tagliafico here, you've come out just to let the player know that you're there, okay, and that you can tackle the ball. But when the ball's moved, instead of going chasing it with Tagliafico, you've made a defensive movement, so you've pulled him back into position. That's excellent. That's what I want to see you doing more often. Okay, that's kind of good when you've pulled the ball back here. And I just want to explain something to you about why it's important to pass back. When you've got the ball here with Aguero, he's got no good options, okay? The players that are in front of him, they're barely in front of him, and there's no way of getting the ball to them. Again here with Piatti, there are no real good passing options in front of him. I mean, you could maybe, and this is something perhaps you're not being aware enough of, you could maybe just play the through ball down to your fullback here, okay? But in front of him centrally, which is the area that you're trying to attack all the time, which is also perhaps a bit of a problem, there are no good options. But now when you move the ball back to Aguero, you've got a great option up here, okay? Nice clear passing lane, no problem at all, and this player's got a one-on-one with the defender. But you're so focused on attacking through the centre, you don't see him, you don't even look at him. So I want you to have a better awareness of what's going on in the wide positions, instead of just forcing attacks through this centre all the time, okay? Okay, that's good, you recovered the position there. Okay, you've still been punished for it, but at least you didn't make the big mistake that you did before. Now, the other thing that I'd say to you, not only, I mean, okay, first of all, let's imagine that you followed the golden rule there that I talked about not moving your defender towards the attacker when you're in front of this line here, okay? If you've just held Van Dijk here, okay, so he's still around here, he's still here in that position. This defender here, I want you to look at this again. This defender here moves up to cover the gap that's been left by Van Dijk, okay, and that's where the problem is, because you've moved him out of the back four. Ramos, I think it is, look, he starts moving up towards the top of the screen, and it leaves this massive half space between the centre back and the defender. And to your credit, you've seen it, okay, you've spotted it, but it's still plenty big enough to get the pass through. A little bit unlucky with the finish. I mean, it is Pele, but that does come from your tendency to move your defenders towards the ball when you don't need to. Okay. Some heavy pressure from your opponent here. There we are. Right, again here, Philipp. What's the problem when you're facing this way? What is the problem with passing back to this player here? It's not so much that you need to do it, it's just that when you're constantly passing the ball forwards like this, it's really easy for your opponent to defend, because he kind of knows what you're going to do all the time, especially when you're passing it forward and trying to attack the central positions. If you just pass the ball backwards sometimes and just change things up slightly, it makes you much less predictable. Oh, wow. Again, look, here. This is Vieira, okay? He's left this player with acres of space to run into, and your opponent has just missed it again. All he has to do here, if this was a good player, he'd play the ball from Hullet to this guy, then play a 1-2, and this guy would be in all the space in the world in this massive gap again between your defenders. Right, so when you play this pass from Rashford to your man here, what is the best that can happen? What are you hoping will happen here? Because I can't see how anything good can come out of that unless you play a first time pass backwards. Okay, you're not using skill moves, so you're not going to go past Van Dijk. I don't see the value in you playing this way, Philipp. You're building up far too fast. Look, all of your support players are way too far behind. They can't support these two strikers because you're moving the ball too quickly. You have to build up a bit more slowly and give these players a chance to get involved, because you're just running straight into trouble all the time with these two. Okay. A lot of good stuff to look at there. And I think we can see that there are two big problems, Philipp. One is the being a little bit too aggressive on defence, or quite a lot too aggressive on defence. And the other one is just building up too quickly, forcing the ball forwards. Again, look, you've done it there. You've been lucky to get away with it. That is a terrible pass. You're very lucky to complete that pass. Why can't you just play the ball back to this player? There's something I want to look at, okay? Let's go back to half-time. There's something I want to explain. One of the reasons why the 4-2-3-1 is so popular is because of all the triangles that appear naturally, okay? There are triangles everywhere in this formation. Loads of them, okay? Everywhere you look, triangles. This is one of the most useful ones, shall we say, between the fullback, the CDM, and the attacking cam, as we are here, okay? But they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's a triangle. And that is the best way to pass the ball. It's the best way to move the ball because it creates gaps in your opponent's defence. All you're doing, really, is trying to get the ball to Aguero and Rashford and then just passing it between them, okay? And that means that the defence is never under any pressure. They're never moved out of position. You don't open any holes. You really need to be... You need to try and make your opponent do what's happening to you. You need him to start chasing the ball and start getting aggressive, and then he'll leave gaps too. And the way you do that is by passing it around in triangles. Okay, it's the most effective way of passing the ball and of pulling a defence out of shape. And I just haven't seen you do that. I'm slightly worried about your tactical settings. If you're on fast build-up, that's a problem because it's causing your players to become isolated. If you are on fast build-up, and I'm not saying for certain that you are, it's difficult to say without seeing them, but if you are, you need to change to balanced. I think you missed your chance there to get the ball into the centre. When you're dribbling like this, it's very difficult, but you need to take your eye off the ball and have some sort of awareness of what's going on in the penalty area like this. A driven pass here would have found your striker for an easy tap into the far post. And it's kind of true, anytime you're in and around this kind of area, the habit that you need to get into is kind of having one eye on the player with the ball and another eye on what's happening with positions with the other players. Because as soon as that window opens, and they often don't open for very long, as soon as it opens, you've got to make the pass, and you've got to make the right pass. So have some awareness of what's happening with the player on the ball, but also look at what's happening with the teammates. It's kind of like basketball, Philip. When you see a basketball player dribbling with a basketball, he's not watching the ball bounce in his hand. His head's up and he's looking around for teammates to pass to. The same with footballers, I guess. Messi is a great example. He doesn't run with his head staring at the football. His head's up and he's looking at where his teammates are. And in these kinds of positions, that's definitely what you need to do. Good goal. Good goal. Nice card, Piatti. I do like that one. You've left your defence in a bit of a mess there again, Philip. Again, look, constantly, all the time. The pass here to begin with, okay? I assume you must be looking at the mini-map, because there's no way you can tell whether you can make this pass because you're passing to a player that isn't even on the screen. Okay, so now you've got the problem that you've got two strikers up against 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders. Alright? So there's very little chance of you actually creating anything when it's 2 attackers against 4 defenders. You could argue 3, but even 2 against 3 is not good. So this is where you need to slow down. You need to stop and you need to move it back to this player. Okay? You need to use what we call a setup man. Because when it comes back to him, he's got more time on the ball And it's back to what we were talking about in the first half. He's got options ahead of him. At the moment, all of your options are behind you, and you're not using them. And this is why you're losing the ball all the time. It's very important that you learn to pass the ball backwards more often, Philip. You'll find that it makes so much difference in your play. Every time you lose the ball, it's because you're trying to force passes forwards. Okay? Chill out, relax, pass it back to this player, or pass it to this player. Okay? You've got two good passing options there. But it's like, I don't know, it's like you've forbidden yourself from passing the ball backwards, and you've told yourself, I must always pass it forwards. Okay? That's a terrible pass. And you didn't need to make that pass. Pass backwards, pass sideways. Wow, he should have scored there. Now this really isn't completely your fault. It is kind of. And it comes from the aggression again. And it's just here when you're defending with Tagliafico. You pull him forward and inside, and it's just enough to give this player the chance to get into that space. Okay, so you go back out again towards him. So now Tagliafico, his momentum, instead of going this way, he's having to shift. So he's having to change his momentum from going forwards towards the player. He's had to stop, and now he's going to start from a standstill and start running backwards, whereas this player is already sprinting. Okay, so that enables him to get past Tagliafico there. You're kind of defending with the wrong player here. You need to be defending with this player, which you change, but it's a bit too late. But now, because Tagliafico was pulled up, you went to attack the ball with him. This player's in behind him, okay? And your two centre-backs, because of the way that you've controlled them, are too narrow. And that's how he's able to find the space to play the through ball, because your left back, who should be around here, is up here. So one of the things, not only do I want you to stop being so aggressive with your defenders, let me look at the stamina here. The fact that the stamina is so low in the 55th minute tells me that you're on fast build-up. And I'm only guessing. If you are on fast build-up, change it to balanced, because it's not helping you. It's just making your players become separated from each other. They're becoming isolated. Change it to balanced, okay? So yeah, apart from stopping this aggressive defending, I want you to get into the habit of defending more often with your centre midfielders. So with your CDMs, okay? Because if you make a mistake with them, you can be a bit more aggressive with them. Because if you make a mistake, the centre-backs are still behind there to help them. That's just unlucky from a corner. Nothing you could do about that. But yeah, you can be more aggressive with your CDMs. Not too aggressive, because the centre-backs are always behind them. But if you're aggressive with the centre-back and you make a mistake, then you're in real trouble. I'm going to send you a link to a tutorial on YouTube about advanced defending, and I think that will help you a lot, because at the moment your defending is a real problem, Philip. This, again, I'm not sure that this was your fault. I think this is just good play by your opponent, really. Your defence is in fairly good shape here. There's nothing wrong with it. And yeah, that's just a good goal. Sometimes people just score good goals, Philip. It's annoying when it happens, but it sometimes does. Okay, so we've changed tactics. Okay, that's good. That's better defending. Why on earth here wouldn't you play the ball backwards to these two midfielders joining the attack? If you understand, it's kind of like you're a horse that has blinkers on, so you can't see out of the side, you can't see out of your peripheral vision, you don't see out of the edge of your eye. All you see is what's straight in front of you. And I want you to get better at seeing what's to the side and what's behind you. Offside. Oh, it wasn't offside. Wow. Really? Okay. GG. Disappointing goalkeeping from Czech again. Not a great card. Yeah, good goal. Wow. Okay, so hopefully by now I shouldn't need to tell you what's going wrong. Hopefully if I just play this back you can watch it and see exactly why this goal happened. The problem in a lot of ways, one, yes, you're being too aggressive with your defenders. But the second problem, okay, look, great defensive position there. All four defenders in a row. Excellent. Couldn't be stronger. You need to defend more with these two players, okay? Stop defending with your back four. So what that means is, when you switch with the button and it gives you control of this player, you don't have to control Baresi. You can take the right stick and flick it towards this player and you'll get control of this player. At the moment your defending is not good enough for you to defend manually in these kind of positions. You need to let the AI take care of it. So you need to get used to right stick switching, and this will be covered in the tutorial that I send you. But it's very important that you stop defending with your centre backs here. Flick away and get control of a CDM. And your CDMs should be further back actually. Their job is to protect the centre backs, and they're not. There's just too much space here for them to operate in. But you need to be flicking away and taking control of this player or this player. You're putting too much pressure on yourself by controlling the centre backs. So get used to using the right stick to just flick it in the direction of the player that you want to control, and it will take much more pressure off you defensively. I wonder if it's fast build-up or long ball that your tactics are. You need to change it either way, Philip. You need to change it to balanced. You're lucky that you won the ball there. You could have been in big trouble. It's very unlucky. I thought that was going in for a second. Wow. No. It's very frustrating to watch this, Philip, because you're getting yourself into good positions. Just take your time. Take your time and see what this defender does. If you hold the ball for a second with Rashford, there's a very good chance that your opponent moves decisively towards Rashford the same way that you have been, that he becomes aggressive and tries to tackle Rashford. If you wait and you give him time to do that, as soon as Desailly comes towards you, it gives Rashford this massive gap to move into. But the AI just takes Desailly there and intercepts the ball. You've got to be more slow. I don't mean that you should just take 10 touches of the ball and then pass it. That's not what I mean. Just that you just have to adjust the tempo a bit more. At the minute, all of your attacks are 100 miles an hour. Again, look. I mean, you know this by now. Why is Baresi coming up here and playing as a midfielder? It's left that gap for this ball to come through again. You're leaving gaps in your back four all the time, Philip. All the time. And it's a big problem. And if you think back, this is something that I saw in the first couple of minutes of the game. And I said to you back then, this will be a problem. And it is. Again, you've done it again. Look, that's your centre-back. That, I think, is Baresi. He shouldn't be up here. He should be back here defending. You could be losing this game by 6 or 7 goals to 2, Philip. And it's all because of the aggression with your defenders. Wow, that just went in. Great penalty. Okay. Right, I'm just going to wind it back to about halfway through so that I can do a summary. Okay. Right. I think it's quite obvious where the problems are with your defence. You're too aggressive controlling your defenders, and you're not defending with your centre mids often enough. You need to control your central midfielders more often and defend with them. Okay. As I say, I'm going to link a video to you. If you watch this video first and then watch that tutorial, that will help you with your defence. At the moment, I think your defence is a bigger problem than your attack. If you're scoring 2 goals in a game, you really need to be winning that game. Okay, I would expect you to concede 0 or 1, not 4. And the reason you're conceding 4 is because you're controlling your centre-backs too much and you're being too aggressive with them. The attacking, as I say, I think you need to focus more on the defence, but for the attacking, I haven't seen your custom tactics, but I think that you're on either fast build-up or long ball. And I think you'd be better to change that to balanced. And you need to stop forcing the ball forwards all the time. Okay? Remember what I said about triangles. Look for those triangles. So, I mean, here you can see them. you've got a triangle here to use. You've got a triangle here to use. You've got a triangle there, triangle here. There are triangles everywhere, okay? And pass the ball in those triangles. But the problem you have if you're on long ball or fast build-up is that these players are going to end up a long way from each other, and you won't be able to use the triangles. You won't be able to pass the ball around. So that's why it's important that you go back to balanced, because it stops players getting stretched out too far, so that you've always got good passing options in these triangles. And that really, Philip, is pretty much where we're at. As I say, the defending is the bigger problem. The attacking, I don't think you're a bad attacker. I think you've just got into some very bad habits of just trying to rush things and trying to force the ball forward no matter what. You know, it doesn't matter if a player's marked. It doesn't matter if the passing lane is blocked. You're still forcing the ball forwards, and that's a problem. You need to get out of that habit and just get more into the habit of passing the ball backwards and sideways and then forwards. Okay, sometimes forwards, but quite often backwards, sideways, 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 forwards. Okay. And yeah, I think this has been a good session, because we're often it's just possible to see mistakes on one side of the ball. We can just work on the defensive side. But here, it's easy to see where the problems are defensively and also in attacking, in offense. So lots for you to work with there, Philip. And I'm confident that when you make those changes, you'll see your results improving. And perhaps when your defence gets better and you concede fewer goals, then it might be time to have a closer look at your attacking. But for now, as I say, I think that's a good session. I think there are problems there that you can fix easily, and I'll link you that video. If there's anything you'd like to discuss afterwards, if there's anything you'd like me to explain differently, or any questions that you have, please email me, or if you're on Twitter, you can follow me at the Foot Coach and just send me a message through there. And if you're happy with the session and you feel it's been good value, that you've got some good stuff out of it, it always helps me if you could send me a message on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, just send a message saying that, recommending the package, I guess. That's always helpful to me. So yeah, perhaps I'll hear from you with questions. If not, let me know how you get on. I always like to hear from clients after the sessions to hear how the game's developing, because I'm sure that you'll see progress from this session, and that you'll see it quite quickly, Philip. So thanks for booking the session. Good luck with putting everything into practice. I think you'll find it quite easily. Watch the video after you've watched this session, and I'm sure you'll see your results improving quickly. Okay, right. Again, thanks for booking, Philip, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Cheers for now, mate. Bye-bye.